Assalamualaikum and good day to Dr. Noraini binti Zulkifli and to my fellow group members. My name is Muhammad Fadzli bin Faizal and my metric card number is D201910880008, and today I will talk about my reflection video regarding my previous teaching lesson. My reflection video is based on my experience in conducting a lesson for Form 2 students. It was conducted using the Google Meet platform. It was planned to teach intermediate proficiency students of Form 2. The number of students who participated in the lesson was 9 students. It was 27 minutes teaching lesson for all my students. The lesson was conducted online because we were still in the MCO phase that did not let me teach in the face-to-face learning. The topic that I chose for my students on that day is affixes. To be precise, it's about prefix. I use media as my tools in getting their attention and interaction to join the class, which is YouTube. In that lesson, I played that YouTube video that explained briefly about prefixes and some of the practice to test their limit in understanding prefixes. After I showed the video, I explained to the students samples and example prefixes and their function used before proceeding to the practice stage. In the practice session, they need to answer some question based on the lesson about prefixes. The main skills that I implemented to them are reading, and the complementary skills are speaking. Before the lesson ended, I asked the students to play Kahoot together to test their limit and knowledge of the topic. The goals that I set for the lesson was I want to get as many interaction as I can from the students based on my instructions. To make students understand the affixes, I will frequently ask if they understand or not to ensure that they understand my lesson well. The reason why I want to teach prefixes to my students is to let them know that every affix can change the meaning of words. For this stage, I have used the teaching aid in the set induction, practice and also production stage. It started in the set induction where I had played a YouTube video that explained a little bit about prefix to the students about the definition, the basic types of prefix and how to use prefix the correct way. The video was took about 3 minutes long. The video will lead to the next action that I had done, which is to explain to the students about the prefix deeper by using example to make the students understand the prefix more. So, the prefix that I taught is on, pre, mis, dis, and re during the lesson. Okay, next we're moving on to the practice stage. The activity that I have conducted is also using a teaching aid, which is a presentation slide, which I'm asking the student to give me 2 examples of the listed prefix based on their understanding. For this activity, I give my students 1 minute to think about the words and another 3 minutes is for them to answer them verbally. The students need to answer the question based on their experience and knowledge in real life. There are 5 different prefixes and 5 different students need to be asked randomly by me to make sure that they completely understand the topic that I have taught. The next part, which is the production part, they are going to apply their lesson based on their main skills that we focus on, which is reading. After they finish answering the practice stage, they need to read a passage about unpacking after a camping trip. I gave them 2 minutes to read the task and complete the table where they need to find the prefix on in the passage and need to find the definition of the prefix on. It is a group work and the time allocation for this activity is 5 minutes. The students need to access Google document to complete the task. For the extended activity, to catch the student interest even more, I asked them to enter the code for the Kahoot session to identify which of my students really understand the topic and who is barely understood the topic. The Kahoot quiz has 10 questions in total, which are 8 are MCQ and the other 2 are true or false. This activity indicates that the lesson for that day is already reached the end. Through my observation, I can see all my students really enjoy and interact well with my lesson. But I noticed that some of them did not understand the lesson and choose to be silent. For most of the lesson progression, there are no questions that the student want to ask, as I thought they already understand with the lesson I conducted. As we go on to the practice 2, which is the passage reading and answer the question through Google document, I monitored that only 5 or 6 students only followed my instruction by filling the box using the correct "and", while others just typed something unrelated to the passage and did not complete the box correctly. It shows that the students did not understand the topic as they could not fill in the box in 5 minutes time. They also did not work in groups, which they all choose to be quiet and complete the task on their own. The observation continued as 1 or 2 of my students did not pay attention to my lesson as they were silenced until the end of the lesson. The Kahoot session proved that 1 of my students only answered 2 questions correct. Some of the students did not volunteer to answer questions from me. They were silenced when I asked them to volunteer. Other than that, my lesson is considered fun and entertaining for the students to learn and participate together with me. I can see that the Kahoot session really attracted students as they really laughed and participated well. Based on my teaching video, throughout the lesson, I realized that my method of teaching that day might not suitable with their level of proficiencies. Since the class consists of most high English proficiency students, I found out that I need to divide the students with high proficiency to cooperate with low proficiency students, which are 1 or 2 students. This is because once I told my students to complete the practice given, the lower proficiency students did not understand the instruction well, as the instruction given by me is just briefly and not too detailed, as I thought that all my students understand the instruction given. This shows that the lower proficiency student depends on the higher one to complete the task given. These weaker pupils might need a little more guidance and instruction in reading, unlike the ones with higher proficiency that could understand with the simple instructions. As I rewatched the teaching video, I also realized that some of my students could not participate properly to access the online activities that I provided because of internet problems. Not even accessing the online activities, some of them cannot listen to the lesson properly as their connection is really bad and need to use 2 gadgets, which is their laptop and also their mobile phone, in order to participate in the class properly. The problem that show up because I did not give proper exposure to the students about the content and topic of the lesson. I should tell them earlier about what we are learning today instead of jumping through the YouTube video and making them wonder what are we learning today. I should also guide them properly rather than expect all of the students have the same level of proficiency. Based on the rationale of the problems, maybe I should make some amendments to the content of the lesson and the way I do the lessons. By looking back at the weakness at my teaching video, I think that I could come up with some logical solution to the problems that happened during the lesson. Firstly, I need to give time for my students to answer. In that video, I asked my students to answer the question directly, which makes them not ready to answer them. Some students need time to think and remember the answer to the question that the teacher asked. So, by giving them time to answer, the student will get more knowledge as they are able to construct a clear sentence in their head to answer the question more confidently. Students tend to be silenced because they are not ready and afraid to answer the question spontaneously because they think that their friends will be laughing at them if they started while they explain. The next thing that I need to do is that I need to revise the instruction for the activity in that lesson. In my class, there is a mixed level of proficiency, which is some of them are really fast and some of them really hard to understand my instructions. To be safe, I need to use simple English words in explaining something to the students. By using this lower level of words might help them in understanding the lesson more easily and can help them to understand the lesson very well. This also will attract the students to engage more with me in the lesson. Instead of making them find the answer together for practice 2, I should make them work in pairs, which are the one with the higher level of proficiency, to pair with the weaker one, because the one that is fast learner will cooperate with the lower level peers to answer the task. Not to mention that the task will become more organized and fairer as everybody got their role to fill in the blanks. This will avoid that the weaker students to become passive as their fast students dominate the task completely. Another action that I could have made is to give praise to the students who try and ask during the learning activity, even though some of them did not answer it well. This is because when we praise some students, it will influence other students to actively participate in the learning process to be praised also. Praising students with applause or the word good job and excellent will make the student feel so comfortable and appreciated by the teacher. But as a teacher, we cannot normalize praise as the students will become unrespectful to their teacher due to the frequent level of praise. Praising is supposed to be balanced and neutral by the teacher. So that is all the action that could have happened if I was really considered changing my style of teaching during that lesson based on my teaching video. My lesson would be more effective if the action could be implemented during the lesson conducted. I prepare this lesson to teach students about prefix because I feel that students need to understand the concept and functionality to use prefix in a correct way so that they can create their own sentences by using prefixes. The reason why I choose reading skill is that I believe the best way to learn English is by reading the passage because that is my experience as a language learner. I believe reading can develop knowledge and new vocabulary for the students to learn. However, I realized that some of the students did not like the idea of reading because they are weak at reading skills. As a result of their lack of interest and knowledge, some of the students struggle to participate in the activity actively, just like the other students do. Therefore, I learned that not all students have the same interest as each other. Each of the students need a different kind of approach and skills for them to participate in class. So lastly, my belief system that I expected for my students is to speak in English even though their ability to speak in English is not very fluent or not good. This is because during my class, even though one or two of my students could not speak English very well from what I can observe, but as I teach English, they all need to speak in English even with the broken one as they will learn to master it day by day rather than always afraid to come out of their comfort zones. So, during my class, there is no mixed language between English and Bahasa because what is the point of using Bahasa when we want our students to master and polish their English language? So, that is all from me. Thank you.